Regina Caeli, let
Praised be Jesus and Mary. Today, I'd like to begin our meditation by starting with an example from the life of a saint, an interesting example. It happened once, one day, to Saint Gabriel of the Sorrowful Mother, that he said to his spiritual father the following words, "Father, I'm sure of going to heaven." "Well, how can you say that?" the priest asked him in response. "We know that we're not supposed to presume of going to heaven. No one can be sure on earth of saving his soul and of getting to heaven, and yet this saint apparently was presuming of his salvation. How can you know that?" And the priest asked him, therefore. "Because I'm already there," the saint replied. "I love Our Lady, so I'm already in heaven." And as simple, as overly simplistic as it might seem, that's the way it really is. In reality, love and devotion to Our Lady are really signs of predestination, are a guarantee of heaven, as the saints have taught and have showed us. Not only that, it's even common teaching of the Church, and we'll look at some doctors of the Church which have taught precisely that. As simple as it is, it's just as true. Devotion to Our Lady is a sign of salvation, of predestination. St. Augustine, a gigantic doctor of the Church, says precisely that. He says that all those who are predestined are already closed in the womb of Our Lady. Hence, love for Mary is a precious sign of salvation. He's not alone. St. Bonaventure, Franciscan doctor of the Church, says that whoever is marked by devotion to Mary will have his name written in the book of life. Another doctor, St. Alphonsus de Liguori, assures us that he who loves Our Lady can be as sure of heaven as if he were already there. Now the words of St. Gabriel make sense. I'm already in heaven because I love Our Lady, because he who loves Our Lady can be as sure of heaven as if he were already there. Devotion to Our Lady, if practiced well, is 1 foot already in heaven. While still on earth, it's already 1 foot in heaven. But, there is a but. We're not disciples of John Calvin or some other poor teacher of predestination that has us, in the hands of an arbitrary God who predestines some to heaven, some to hell, without us being able to help it, without being able to do anything except perhaps despair. No, it's not the case. Our devotion to Our Lady has to be true. It has to be true devotion to Our Lady, doing her will and not ours, basically carrying out well, heroically, in a holy fashion, our daily duties towards God and neighbor. Let's see an example of this. St. Bernadette received from Our Lady in Lourdes assurance of heaven. She was promised heaven by Our Lady. What better guarantee would you want? And yet this saint acted in her daily life as a religious, and even before entering the convent as a young girl, she acted in everything with the greatest perfection because she did not dare presume to go to heaven without living a holy life. She knew that there was a contradiction there. You can't get to heaven without being a saint. So if she had heaven promised, that meant she had sanctity promised, and she had to work at it. One day, however, somebody pointed out to St. Bernadette, "Listen, Our Lady assured you of heaven. You're safe. Now, why all this effort?" And St. Bernadette responded, "Yes, that's true. I have heaven promised, but on condition that I do all that is necessary to merit it. On condition that I do everything possible, everything necessary to merit that heaven." We're not disciples of those who teach predestination in the Protestant sense. We have to work out our salvation with fear and trembling. St. Paul used to say, St. Paul taught us in his letters. That is why it is necessary, as we draw to a close of this month of May, of this month of Mary, that we draw the correct conclusions, about the devotion which we should have to Our Lady, about the true Marian devotion which the saints have had, which the saints have taught. a devotion which is first and foremost an interior devotion. It comes from our mind, from our heart. It moves our intellects and our wills to subject themselves to Our Lady, intellect and will. Second, it is trustful. It fills us with confidence in the Blessed Virgin, the same confidence that a child has in its mother, and it prompts us to have recourse to her in all our needs of mind and body with the greatest possible simplicity, trust, and affection. Third, devotion, true devotion to Our Lady, is holy. That is, it leads us to avoid sin and to imitate the virtues of Mary, to avoid sin and to imitate the virtues of Mary. Fourth, true devotion to Our Lady is constant. It strengthens us in our desire to do good, prevents us from giving up in our devotional practices too easily. It gives us courage, that Christian courage in the face of persecution, the strength to oppose the fashions and maxims of this world which are opposed to the gospel, which are contrary to the gospel, which contradict and battle the gospel. A person truly devoted to Our Lady is not changeable, not fretful, scrupulous, timid, doesn't cave in, doesn't compromise. He doesn't fall, and when he has fallen, God forbid, when he has fallen, he stretches out his hand to his Blessed Mother and rises again by means of a good confession. And even if he loses all taste for his devotion, he's not at all upset, because a good and faithful servant of Mary is guided in his life by faith in Jesus and Mary, not by feelings. Those who have a constant, true devotion to Our Lady are guided not by feelings, which come and go, which change, sometimes without us even controlling them, but is guided by faith in Jesus and Mary. Fifth, true devotion is disinterested, not uninterested, not that we're not interested, it's disinterested in the sense it doesn't seek our own interests. It inspires us to seek God alone in His Blessed Mother and not ourselves. That is why we love and serve Mary just as faithfully in weariness and dryness of spirit as in sweetness and sensible fervor. We love her just as much on Calvary as we do at Cana. Interior, trustful, holy, constant, disinterested. This is the kind of devotion which the saints have spoken of, which they have written of, which they have lived, and which for them was a sure sign of their predestination, which they then achieved. If we don't have it, let us ask for it. Let this be the principal grace which we ask this month, at the conclusion of this month. Let it be the grace, the gift, the fruit of this month which we ask from God. As St. John Damascene, father and doctor of the Church, used to say, God gives the grace of devotion to Our Lady to those whom He wants saved. And that same God tells us in the Gospel, ask and you will receive. Let us ask then for that devotion. Let us ask for the true devotion to Our Lady. And what concrete steps do we want to take? What specific resolution do we want to make so that our resolutions don't just remain up there in the air someplace, vague and unspecified, which in the end change nothing in our lives? What steps do we want to take concretely? Pray the Rosary. Our Lady asked us in Fatima. Pray the Rosary every day. If you want to conclude this month well, according to the heart of our Mother, let us do so by making the resolution to pray the Rosary every day. Our Lady has asked for it, not just once, but multiple times. Let's do it. She asked us to do it. Let's do it. Let's do her will. Because not everyone who says Mary, Mary, not everyone who performs some exterior action in honor of Our Lady, not everyone who does that will enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does her will, he who accomplishes the will of his heavenly Mother. And it is the Rosary and devotion to this Immaculate Heart of our Mother which are a guarantee of salvation. As Our Lady herself has said at Fatima, her words, textual words, I promise salvation to those who embrace this devotion, and those souls will be loved by God like flowers placed by me to adorn His throne. It's by means of the Rosary, if you want to make a practical resolution, one that works, one that is of benefit to us, by means of the Rosary, that will drive home, that will really remember what we meditated this month, that will assimilate it, make it our own, translate it into our daily lives, live it and persevere in it by means of the Rosary. Because as Pope Pius XII said, From the frequent meditation on the mysteries, the soul little by little, that's why we have to pray it every day, the soul little by little and imperceptibly draws and absorbs the virtues they contain, is wondrously enkindled with a longing for things immortal, becomes strongly and easily impelled to follow the path which Christ himself and his mother have followed. And the recitation of identical formulas, repeated so many times, rather than rendering the prayer sterile and boring, has on the contrary the admirable quality of infusing confidence in him who prays, and brings to bear a gentle compulsion on the motherly heart of Mary. Frequent meditation, by frequent meditation, slowly we absorb, we assimilate, we imitate that which we meditate. We leave the things of the earth, we desire things of heaven. By repetition of formulas and creatures of habit, by repetition of formulas so many times repeated, we are infused confidence in our souls, and we work the effect of a gentle impulse, a compulsion on the motherly heart of our Mary, who will not be able not to hear our prayers, who will grant all that we ask for. So God gives the grace of devotion to Our Lady, to those whom he wants saved, and he wants us all saved. So he wants to give this devotion to all of us if we just ask for it, if we ask for it with constancy, with perseverance. Immaculate Heart of Mary, Queen of the Most Holy Rosary, pray for us.